taking a look at our own journeys and acknowledging where we've come. I knew what I didn't know, and I had to put HBL Resources on the shelf. Don't say no to yourself. Don't not ask the question. Keep moving forward. I've dreamt being a business owner since I was 8 years old.
Now that is kind of a big deal.
Today's guest is a true leader in the world of human resources and a proud member of our chamber community. Lisa Perez is the founder and president of HBL Resources, the creator of the Complete Manager Makeover, and the visionary behind the National Management Training Week. She's been in business for over 12 years, brings over 30 years of HR experience to the table, and is a recipient of not one, but 2 prestigious Stevie Awards. She is a sought-after keynote speaker and trainer who gives back generously, volunteering with SCORE, the Jim Moran Institute, and serving on the board of directors of the Miramar Pembroke Pines Regional Chamber of Commerce. And lastly, we couldn't be prouder to say that she is a Pinnacle Award winner, one of the highest honors the chamber gives to local leaders who go above and beyond. But before we start our conversation, let's introduce our sponsors. This episode of the Kind of a Big Deal podcast is sponsored by the Miramar Pembroke Pines Chamber of Commerce, the Weston Florida Chamber of Commerce, and the Pembroke Park West Park Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber brings innovation and progress to the community by being a catalyst for business growth, a convener of leaders to implement positive change, and a champion for strong communities. DevSign Media, for all your video production needs. Let's make it happen. And K. Davis Management Consulting, simplifying management for business owners who'd rather be doing literally anything else. Go to kdcanhelp.com. Lisa, welcome to the podcast. I am thrilled to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Kimberly. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, I was excited to have you here because, like, from the time that I met you, I've been impressed with you. Just not only because like you really know your stuff and you really know what you're doing. You're you're a professional and you are an HR guru, but you're also kind and warm and funny and so I always walk away encouraged and inspired whenever I talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
So I am excited to find out more about the National Management Training Week. But before we do that, could you give our listeners a quick overview of HBL Resources and what it is you do for your clients?
Absolutely. So we've been in business now. It's going to be actually 14 years
in
business. Yeah, we've had a couple anniversaries. And we focus on 3 really streams of service. I'm a keynote speaker, as you mentioned. I do speaking engagements that helps get the word out about what we're doing and what we're all about. HR consultation, right? Always love to be of support to small and medium-sized businesses and some large businesses when they need management training.
Right.
And then really focusing on the training and development. That's my heart. That's where the future of the firm will be, and ensuring that we create great managers and leaders in the workplace of today. Because 60% of employees are said to leave their employers because of their manager's behavior. I'm after that statistic with a vengeance.
And as you should be. You're right. It's a much needed area of improvement for a lot of people. So that actually will lead us into National Management Training Week.
Yes.
You're the founder of that.
I am.
And I believe it's such an important and needed event at this time.
It is.
So can you tell us why you started it,
Yes.
who it's for, and why it's important right now?
It's important always, but we started it because of that statistic that I just mentioned, this need for management training. And it's great to promote from within. We encourage organizations to do that, but we also have to equip those managers with the leadership skills that aren't there when they're good at making widgets, right?
Right.
I can be a great widget maker, but now I'm promoted, I lead a team, and I don't bring that skill set. And so those are the skills that we make sure are trained and provided in our training programs, and that's why National Management Training was created, to create that awareness of the need for better, more effective management training in the workplace, particularly related to the human element of managing people.
100%. You know, you and I had this conversation. My first management position that I was in, I was promoted because they saw a quality in me, right? They saw leadership qualities, and I had some personality traits that they thought would make me a good manager.
Absolutely.
And it was great, and I was super excited, but I was kind of thrown in and kind of set up for failure,
right?
Because I did not have any training. I was looking for training, but I couldn't find anything.
Right.
I couldn't find anything like National Management
Well, here
Training
we are.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
Because I made mistakes, and they were embarrassing.
Yeah.
Embarrassing big mistakes.
Yeah.
And I don't wish that on anybody,
Exactly.
especially because you're all built up because you've been given this new
Opportunity,
position
yeah.
and this opportunity,
Yeah.
and they have faith in you,
Yeah.
and then you walk into it and you just hit a wall.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we need to normalize it.
Absolutely. And, you know, National Management Training Week, we've got a big HR community, but it's so much more than human resources. It's getting the managers in those same spaces, in those same rooms to learn what it is the HR people are learning, right?
Yes.
And if not, then use that content, use the curriculum that's coming out during that week and share it with their teams. Take that same recording, which we do, you know, recordings and things of that nature, and utilize that in your management training throughout the year. Use that week, which is the third full week of August annually, to, you know, do internal training, focus on learning management system, you know, implementations, implement a mentorship program or a succession planning program, and use that week to focus on building that, you know, internal infrastructure or implementing whatever you've built. That's the focus of the week as well.
Perfect. So now you mentioned it was the third week of August.
Third full week of August.
How can our listeners partake?
Just go to nationalmanagementtrainingweek.com and it'll take you to our landing page where they can register. We're on advanced ticket pricing right now, and they can download our toolkit where they can get some ideas on what to do within their own organizations. And if they'd like to sponsor, we are still looking for sponsors this year.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your personal journey. As you know, this podcast is about entrepreneurs, helping other entrepreneurs, sharing real advice and stories, and showing us that we're not alone in this, that the things that we're going through as first-time entrepreneurs or new business owners or whatever are the same things that other people have gone through.
Absolutely.
So you
Keep it real, right?
Exactly. So you have built something incrable. I am,
I'd like
again,
to think so. Yeah.
super
Thank
impressed
you.
with you.
Thank you.
I want to be you when I grow up.
Oh, thank you.
But I know that your path to success has not always been super smooth.
Right.
As is nobody's is, right?
Correct.
So you've spoken about some of the challenges of like stepping into your own value and your fight with imposter syndrome, if you will, and balancing business with like intense personal responsibilities.
Absolutely.
So we want our listeners to hear a little bit about that story.
Okay.
So in your interview with Voyage MIA, you mentioned that you had it took you some time to recognize your value. And I think that's something that so many of us struggle with.
Right.
You know, am I good enough? Who's going to really hire me? Why would they really hire me? And you can look at the facts.
Right.
But sometimes the facts get blurred in your own mind, you know?
Right.
So tell me what helped you finally overcome that?
Gosh, so many things. You know, I think it's important to realize that, you know, where you come from, what you hear paints a picture for you. And I was fortunate to have an amazing dad who told me I would be anything I could be, anything I wanted to be, and nothing could stand in my way. But then you get out there in the real world, and the real world kind of says, well, no, not necessarily. And so you have that internal battle. So I think appreciating those people along the way and keeping them in your ear more than, you know, that one on the shoulder that I just learned to just flick off and say, get out of here, you've got no space here, right? Literally, right? And keeping that positive energy and that positive insight, those positive influences at the forefront, more than those things that, you know, even if it's your own voice getting in the way. Right. That was a huge thing. So that's an internal, conversation that you have to have with yourself. Yeah. And then really, you know, you hit on something just earlier as you read your bio. I used to tell people, I want you to write your bio and then I want you to read it out loud. look at how much you have accomplished. Look
Yes.
at, every time I hear it, I keep thinking, are they talking about me, right? And I mean
Yeah.
that genuinely.
Yes.
Because I think when you look at that, certifications, education. I have people with MBAs going, I can't make what I want to make. Why not? You've got an MBA, right?
Yeah.
And so really taking a look at our own journeys and acknowledging where we've come. That's huge. I mean, I'm a girl from Brooklyn, right?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
never not see myself from a little girl from Brooklyn,
Right,
you know?
right.
And there's a lot that's there. But there's a lot that she's been able to navigate ever since, right? College and young motherhood and all of those resilient journeys. The awards, of course, which are humbling but inspiring as well.
Of course.
And owning that and saying, yes, I can charge what I charge. I'm worth what I can charge. I know what I know. I know a few things I don't know. I'm always learning.
Yeah.
And making sure to stay top of game as well. I think all of those things have been an integral part. And then learn. Right? Continue to learn and be top of game. I have those certifications for a reason. I want it to show the world that I'm staying and maintaining top of game.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned something about like reading your own bio,
Yeah.
like looking at your own facts and reading your own bio.
Yes.
I like to do when I start to feel that way, I like to go back in time and say, okay, let me compare the me of now to the me of a year ago.
Correct.
Or the me of 5 years ago.
Correct.
Or the me of 10 years ago.
Correct.
And the further back you go,
That's
the
right.
better you're going to feel about yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm right there with you. You know, one of the I think most important parts of my journey for me was realizing that when I originally launched HBL Resources, it was under another name in 1999. At that time, yes, I still had all the HR stuff, and of course, HR changes, but the entrepreneurial mindset and skill set was missing, right? I started HBL Resources as a part-time thing. I didn't have the tenacity of the business development piece. There were so many fundamentals of entrepreneurship. I had the HR stuff. I was coming in from corporate.
Of course.
But I realized I knew what I didn't know, and I had to put HBL Resources on the shelf. I put it on the shelf after about 1.5 to 2 years and said, I've got to go get these skill sets, right? Went back out. I did, Amway and Creative Memories and all the, home-based business things that I could find.
Right.
And those weren't my niche, but I knew I needed those to get those skill sets. And a dear, dear colleague and mentor of mine, Joe Peachy, he was with Amway at the time and trained all those Amway, business building skills. And I came back out, and here we are 14 years later, because I knew what I didn't know. I was willing to say, you know what, now might not be the time. Let me take a step back, get those skills, and come back out. Never be afraid to say, I don't know something, and now's not the time. Acknowledge that, but keep moving forward. Keep that dream alive.
That's so inspiring. Yeah. Oh my gosh, like I don't know how we could ever top that story. That's great. That's a great story. So I mentioned to you earlier before we started recording.
Yeah.
I have recently gone through a period of life which had just knocked me on my butt. It was really crazy for me, and I had such a struggle trying to balance everything and keep my business going. I'm in my first year.
Yeah.
And,
It's
trying
tough.
to keep everything afloat while I'm dealing with this other stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that happens to everyone, right? At some point, somebody's going to get sick. Somebody's going to get divorced.
Life
You're gonna
happens.
You're going to become a caretaker to somebody.
Yep, did that too.
So I want to ask you, have you ever had a time when your attention was demanded by life issues?
Absolutely.
And how did you deal with that?
In fact, I'm going to be speaking at the SHRM National Conference. SHRM meaning Society for Human Resource Management National Conference.
I didn't know that. I would have
San
mentioned
Diego.
that. That's amazing.
Yeah, in June. And the topic is caregiving in the workplace. And that topic comes directly from my experience with being the caretaker to my father in his elder years. We moved him from New York into my home under hospice care immediately. So it was quite a journey.
Yeah.
And it was a very challenging time to be able to navigate and balance. Fortunately, he'd saved enough that I didn't have to do all 3 shifts. I did 2 shifts.
Right.
But, caregiving in the workplace is a huge, I think, a topic that we're not talking about as much because it's out there, and 60%, I believe that's the statistic, of caregivers are in the workplace, and we don't see it. It's the unspoken thing, right?
Yeah.
And so navigating that and maybe prioritizing. I do remember negotiating myself into some part-time gigs instead of full-time gigs, things that did not require me to be there full-time in person so that I could manage that. So it's about knowing what are the priorities, and at the end of the day, when I'm on my deathbed, what am I going to be most proud of? And I'm most proud of being able to have maintained my business. It took a tank. It sure did, revenues and things of that nature. But knowing that I'd spent that period of time doing what I was most ordained to do and honored to do to support my dad during that period of time.
Of course.
But I think that balance, right? Understanding what is the true priority and negotiating whatever you can to be able to focus on that main priority. I think there's a lot more understanding out there than we believe is, and we just got to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get.
That's true. And you don't get that chance again.
That's right.
You don't get that second chance.
That's right. Exactly.
When my grandmother became very sick, we wanted to keep her in her home. Mm-hmm. And we were lucky enough to have, it was me and my mother and my aunt and some cousins, and we all took shifts.
Right.
And we also had a caretaker come in, and we all took shifts to keep her in her home and take care of her. And even that was a lot.
It's a lot.
Even that was a lot. We had so many people, but when it was your shift, you were drained from it. So, I would not have had it any other way.
Exactly.
I was so glad that we were able to do it.
Yeah. And it became a launching pad for this speaking topic, right? That I can now bring to employers that say, hey, we've got to pay attention to this topic. We have to understand what's going on in our workplaces and what our workers need as they navigate this caregiving space. So it's given me a platform, one I wouldn't have ever had I not gone through that experience.
It is so crazy.
You've got to take things and make something great out of them.
It is so crazy how like things come along in your life and they're so draining and daunting and heart-wrenching, and then you don't realize what's going to come out of them. Eventually it's going to help you in some way, or it really is it's a blessing that you were able to do that.
It is. And in fact, this is the second time Sherm National has selected that same topic. So I get to say it again.
Good for you.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry that I didn't know that. I should have known that before you came on. I would have absolutely mentioned it.
No.
Okay, so lastly, one of the reasons that I wanted you on this podcast, and I'm so happy that you're our first guest, is because, like I said, every time I talk to you, I come away inspired. I learn something new. I think that you're so encouraging.
I love supporting you. I think you're fantastic as well.
Oh, thank you.
I really do. I really do.
You're going to make me cry.
Not on the first show.
So what is one piece of encouragement that you want anyone who's listening to hear today?
Just one? Oh my gosh. What, besides getting my book? No.
Well, yeah.
No,
show the book, definitely.
It's in here, right? And I've already said one of them is you don't ask, you don't get. I'm a big believer of that. Don't say no to yourself. Don't not ask the question. Don't not ask the chamber, can we do a podcast that you can host? Right. Don't not ask the question because you think you're going to get a no. Ask the question. Negotiate the part-time gig to take care of your dad, right? Ask the question. Don't be afraid to just go for it, right? That to me is one of the most important things. I think that's been a key to my success. It really, really has been that simple thing. But the next thing is keep moving forward. As I mentioned before, having to put HBL on the shelf, that was a tough decision, but one that had to happen for me to be able to be in business now 14 years, right? Wow. And so keep moving forward. I've dreamt being a business owner since I was 8 years old. right? And my book talks about that story. But I always kept moving forward. What do I need to know to do that, to make that happen? So what did you do today to make that dream come true? Maybe it's reading a book, listening to a podcast, asking some advice from a mentor, whatever it is. Do something every single day to reach that dream, no matter what that dream is. What did you do today to reach it? And that's keep moving forward for me.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That is so amazing. Yeah. I'm like almost speechless. I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm supposed to say now. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for asking and inviting me.
Thank you. And if you're listening, make sure you buy the book.
Yeah, the Complete Manager
Makeover.
Available wherever you get your books. And of course on our website at hblresources.com or the completemanagermakeover.com as well.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
My
I
absolute
appreciate it.
pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
All right.
All right.
Welcome to Things I Can't Say at Work, the part of the podcast where I answer listener-submitted questions and dig into the messy, complicated, and frustrating real-world stuff that business owners and managers are dealing with, but aren't quite sure how to handle. Since this is our first episode, today's question did not come from a listener, but from a business owner I know who would like to remain anonymous. If you want to submit a question for me to answer on the podcast, don't worry. I know this stuff is sensitive and I won't share names. So the question is, I hired somebody who crushed the interview. Charming, confident, said all the right things. Now 2 weeks in, they just aren't getting it. They supposedly had all this experience, but it doesn't seem like it. They're even missing the mark on basic stuff. Did I miss red flags, or are some people just professional interviewers? Now, this is a great question because this happens so often, right? You interview somebody, you think they're a rock star, you hire them, then they start to, hit a wall, and you're wondering what happened. So I just want to say this with as much love as I can, and I want you to understand that this is coming from a good place, that it might be you. It might be your fault. So let me explain why. A lot of times when you're a new business owner or a new manager or a new leader of some sort, you are thrown into the position without any management training or coaching or anything like that. I can't stand the stigma that you should just inherently know, right? And if you need management coaching, that there must be something wrong with you. You can be a born leader and a born manager. You can have all this natural ability, but still you're not gonna be great at it unless you get some coaching and unless you get some help. Okay, so I would love to normalize coaching and training as a thing that leaders do when they're new leaders. So now I say this, that it might be your fault, because are you sure that you explained yourself? Are you sure that your expectations were super crystal clear from the beginning? Did they know what the workload was going to be like? Did they know what the environment was going to be like? Were your expectations from the beginning crystal clear? What's your onboarding like? Is your training like up to par? Is it, is your training like very robust and works for every kind of learner? Did you maybe accidentally pair them with somebody who just doesn't have time to train, or maybe is uncooperative for whatever reason? If you can't say an emphatic, yes, Kimberly, I did all of these things and I did everything right, then it might be an internal issue and you might want to look at your operations a little bit better. But if you can say that, if you can say, yes, Kimberly, I did everything right, I know for a fact that everything's good, that my processes are all clear, that my training is robust and good. I have a good rapport with all of my employees, and they can come to me if there's a problem, and they know that. So I know for a fact that nothing internally is wrong, and it definitely is this person. Then it's worth sitting down with them to find out, right? It's worth sitting down with them and having a conversation to find out what's wrong, because your instincts were that they were great. Your instincts were that this is going to be a rock star employee, and then something happened. You need to find out what happened. So it could be that they have some insight that might help you, that they might find the process is convoluted or the training is unclear, or that they've been paired with somebody who's just unwilling or unable for whatever reason to help them the way they need help. And then you'd have to go back to your team and not just talk to the new hire, but talk to your team and find out what can be better here. Or you might find out that they're just not a good fit, that they're just not happy there, that they just don't like it there, and then you'd have to have a different discussion with them, right? But the last thing you want to do is fire somebody only to rehire and find out that it was an internal issue, because you're going to have the same problem over and over and over again. So you definitely it's worth having the conversation with the new hire and with the rest of your team if you find it appropriate. If you find that, the new hire said, this is confusing or that is unclear, you might want to talk to the rest of your team also and get their input and say, what can be improved here as far as our onboarding. So good luck to you. I hope that helped answer your question. If you are a listener and you have a question, if you're having a trouble with your team or an employee or just a management question in general, feel free to submit it at Kimberly@kdcanhelp.com. and I will read it on the air and answer your question. And don't worry, I understand these things are sensitive, so I will not mention your name if you don't want me to. So that's it for It's Kind of a Big Deal. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.